I'm WCPO 9 anchor Craig McKee. I want to thank you so much for being here this morning, making time. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the second Easterseals Military and Veteran Services Town Hall Forum. This morning, the Easterseals team will be giving you an update on its service to our community over this past year. They've been very, very busy, I have to tell you. We're also going to share some details of two new mission-based initiatives that the Easterseals has launched to ensure that no veteran is left behind in our community. Tomorrow is, of course, a great holiday. It is Veterans Day, which was first observed back in 1919. That was as Armistice Day, of course, tied to World War I. To honor the veterans, obviously, who served in that war. Well, now, of course, we honor every single veteran over time. And, you know, a theme you're going to hear throughout this morning is that our veterans who have already sacrificed so much to our country should not have to struggle back here at home. And so many of them do when they make that transition into civilian life. And you know what? We're going to show you how Easterseals and supporters like you are making a true difference in the lives of local veterans every single day in our community. Before we get started, a little housekeeping here, rules of engagement, if you will, for our Zoom town hall. All the microphones will be set to mute, except for our presenter mics, of course, which will be live. If you have any questions during our town hall, please send them in using the chat feature, which I'm sure you're all familiar with Zoom by now. It's been a long pandemic. At the bottom and center of your screen there, it says chat. So just click on that and send a private message to Fergal Reed, and that's F-E-A-R-G-H-A-L, Reed, R-E-I-D. When you start typing that in, it'll auto-populate. So Fergal will be more than happy to take those questions from you. And we're going to try to answer as many questions as you might have. Anything that pops up as you're hearing folks speak, please just type away. We want to welcome a few different guests here who are in the town hall audience. As I've noticed here, former Ohio State Senator Lou Terhar, thank you, sir, for being here. Mark Romito from AT&T is here as well. Mark, thank you. And you know what? You're going to hear from them actually in just a little bit as well, because great supporters of Easterseals here in the Greater Cincinnati area. Quick background about me. Some of you know me. We've worked on stories together. Served in the United States Air Force for 9 years. I was originally trained in law enforcement, so breaking up bar fights, pulling people over, that kind of thing. The Air Force sent me to Eastern Kentucky University, taught me how to pick locks and defeat alarm systems. And so I was a resource protection officer, and I would go break into priority A resources on base if I could, and then write up the base commander. I then cross-trained over into broadcast journalism and worked for Air Force News for a number of years, traveled all over Europe. I was stationed in Germany and traveled all over from Kosovo to the Netherlands, the Republic of Georgia, and I had a blast. Rock radio show in the morning, woke up all of Southwest Germany, and then hopped on a C5 to fly to whatever country to cover the news of the day. So I met my wife during that time. We met at Fort Meade, actually, in Maryland. She was in the Army, and the rest is, you know, a fairy tale story, I guess. As a journalist and a veteran, you know, I'm very honored. I'm in a unique position here where I get to bring veterans' stories and issues in my Homefront series, which airs on Mondays on WCPO 9. Last week, I actually introduced our newest anchor, Adrian Whitsett. He's the newest member of Good Morning Tri-State. He is a Marine, and he was very open about some of the struggles that he had after he got out of the service after serving in the Iraq War. There were some major hurdles he had to push through, and thankfully he got onto the right track, and we have him here as part of the WCPO family, and also just a fellow veteran to be able to talk about the veterans' issues. I know he's going to be a great partner. I also had the chance to follow the story of Roy Fulps. Some of you may have seen this story. It's a Navy veteran from Crittenden who was referred to Easterseals by the VA for travel assistance for surgery over in South Dakota. Now, the DAV chapter in South Dakota actually got a hold of this story, and they said, we want to help. And they helped Roy and his family during his recovery and even his trip back here to Kentucky. So it was great to see that connection. And that's the beauty of journalism, right? Because I get to tell a story, and especially now with social media, everyone, folks like you, get to share that out there, and the word spreads, especially about the great work that Easterseals is doing. And a shout out to the DAV folks, because they really stepped up as well. To start things off, though, I want to bring in Pam Green, the president and CEO of Easterseals of Greater Cincinnati, to tell us a little bit more about the mission and the work of Easterseals specifically. Pam.
Great. Thanks so much, Craig. And it is Veterans Day, but I also would be remiss if I did not wish a happy birthday for the Marine Corps birthday today. So I don't quite have the little guttural oorah, But hoorah to all of our Marines that are with us today. We also have a lot of other special guests that I want to say thank you to, because they're folks who've really supported our work in military and veterans services, and I really appreciate all they do. We have Robbie Suggs from First Financial Bank, and Lisa Sampson from PNC, Kim Vogelsang from Duke Energy. I think Jeanette may be here, Jeanette Altino from TriHealth. Just great supporters of Easterseals. And I also want to say thank you. I believe we have, I can't quite scroll through all my screens, but I know that our state representative, Catherine Ingram, who was recently reelected, is supposed to be joining us today. And I believe we also have someone from our Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost's office. Beth, I think, has joined us. So thank you so much to all of our guests. And I hope I haven't forgotten any or missed anyone. So like I said, scrolling through Zoom is, the Zoom screens is difficult right now. So if you're new to Easterseals, I want to just give you a big Easterseals welcome. I'm excited to talk about our work in military and veterans services and all of the exciting things that our team is doing in the community right now. There's a lot of great things going on. So at Easterseals, our mission is to break down barriers to employment for people with disabilities, for veterans, and for people facing economic disadvantages. And, we do this, we stay focused on employment because we know that a job is a lot more than a paycheck. It is the pride of achievement. It is the joy of connecting with others. It's the security of knowing you can provide for your family. Work gives the individuals that we serve an identity, a sense of belonging. Work really does provide purpose, and it's something that's incredibly important to veterans in our community. So when we think about veterans, I think we often think in the context of welcome home events and 4th of July parades. We think about their bravery and their selfless courage and the sacrifices that they make while they're enlisted to keep our country safe. But one of the things that we just don't always think about is how difficult it can be to transition back to civilian life. To go from being in the military one day to being on a job in the community the next. And there's a lot of veterans that just need some support. And that's what Easterseals is here for. In our community, there are about 136 veterans in the region. And almost 35,000 of those have come home with some form of disability. And even before the outbreak of COVID-19, more than 3,000 were unemployed, and almost 1,000 were homeless. So Easterseals has been serving veterans of every major conflict since World War II. And we reaffirmed this commitment here in Cincinnati in 2012 because we recognized that we had servicemen and women that were going to be coming back from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq with disabilities seen and unseen, and we wanted to be there to help. So with the support of the Farmer Family Foundation and the Carol Ann and Ralph V. Hale Foundation at U.S. Bank, we set out to create this unique service model where veterans could be served by fellow veterans who understood firsthand the challenges they were facing. So 8 years and a troop drawdown that brought home a generation of veterans later, our military and veterans services team has provided critical support to thousands of veterans and their families in our region. As someone who comes from a military family, I am so proud that Easterseals has stayed true to our original vision, offering services free of charge to any veteran who needs assistance. Collaborating with other community organizations to maximize our impact and to reduce the duplication of services, and leveraging our employer networks to connect vets to sustainable careers. I'm also incredibly proud that Easterseals veterans are once again stepping up to serve their community by taking essential jobs. And that's where we've really stepped up our efforts during this pandemic. The vets that we serve are working in hospitals, providing direct patient care and keeping facilities clean. They're building medical test kits that are being shipped all over the world as we search for a vaccine. They're in shipping centers. They're in logistics operations, keeping supply lines running. They're in grocery stores. They're on construction sites, building roads and healthcare infrastructure. the vets that we serve right now continue to be on the front line every day. And so finally, I'm really proud of the support that Easterseals continues to receive from this amazing community in Greater Cincinnati. It is your investment that provides us with the resources to answer those life-saving calls. And it's your network that creates the employment opportunities for the vets who want to earn a better future. And it's your commitment that is creating a community of change. And for that, we are so grateful. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Craig, and say thank you once again to all of you for joining us.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. This morning's town hall, it's going to follow a panel discussion format here, followed by a question and answer session, of course. So again, if you have any questions at all, privately send those messages on the chat feature to Fergal Reed. We're going to answer those a little bit later in the program. Pam mentioned there the veterans helping veterans, and I have three people I'd like to introduce right now if you're not familiar with them. We're joined by Military and Veteran Services team. We have Scott Robinson. Scott, wave if you can. Director of Easterseals, Military and Veteran Services. Scott actually served honorably in the United States Air Force, go blue, for 30 years, retiring at the highest enlisted rank of Chief Master Sergeant in 2011. His career took him all around the world, including combat tour in Iraq in 2005. We also have U.S. Army veteran Sergeant Chris Macklin with us here today. Chris, can you wave for us? Woohoo! Chris was a recipient of services from Easterseals, in fact, and was so inspired by the mission that he joined the team in 2017. Chris has degrees in social work and addictions counseling, which he actually puts to great use as a case manager for Easterseals. And last by no means least here, we have the newest member of the Military and Veteran Services team, Rusty Mardis. Rusty, give us a big wave there. There you go, or salute. There you go. Rusty spent 24 years of active duty service, also in the United States Air Force, retiring in 2014 as a major. And he's currently serves as the job developer for Easterseals Military and Veteran Services. No stranger to the team, though, been kind of a partnering up with Easterseals through his work with the former Tri-State Veterans Community Alliance, also known as WCPO, which is no longer. And he's also the founder of the Northern Kentucky Military Veteran Coalition, which he found a real need of branching across the river. The Ohio River is like a gigantic wall for some veterans, and Rusty really saw a need to try to bridge that gap. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, so Scott, I'd like to bring you in first here. As someone who obviously served in the military for 3 decades, has now been back in the civilian life for almost a decade now, what are some of the struggles that people may not really realize or think about when it comes to veterans in that transition?
Well, thank you, Craig. First, it's great to see you again. I appreciate everything you do and your service also. And I thank everyone for being here, especially on the Marine Corps birthday. So the big question is, how do we feel when we transition out of the military? First and foremost comes to mind is a feeling of being disconnected. As you know, Craig, the military is a different way of life. There's a routine, a sense of purpose, you have discipline, and there's camaraderie. And almost everything you do with a teammate, a battle buddy. You're always doing things together. And many veterans transition from the military back to civilian service with no issue. And that's fine, but there are some veterans who the military was their family, was their life, and was their identity. And when they transition out of the military, there is a challenge. They struggle with their purpose. They no longer have a purpose like they did in the military. They have a struggle of translating their military experiences into resumes to be competitive for employment. I personally had that. I'm going to give you a quick story. As you understand, I served 30 years. When I left the military, my resume was 15 pages long because of everything I did was important to me, and I wanted to be sure that I was competitive. My little sister said, burn that, you'll never get a job, and drove it down to 1 year with the most important things. But I struggled myself being very successful, just trying to make a resume. And so it's a real thing when we try to translate our skills, our abilities, our language into civilian speak, if you will. Then there's that not having shared experiences with those around you anymore. We all went through boot camp. We all went, to this. We all deployed. We understood each other. But when you no longer are on that base and in that community, sometimes you talk about things that other can't relate to. They respect it. They understand it. They encourage the dialogue, but they may not be able to relate to it. And that's tough. And then the tougher aspects of transition, the darker aspects, if you will, sometimes you feel isolated. I know I did when I first got out of the military, because I moved out of my community up to Ohio. So I didn't have any friends here and I didn't have a connection to military members anymore. That can lead to feelings of abandonment from some people, which could lead to depression and unfortunately could lead to possibly thoughts of suicide or suicide. So that's number one, is the difficulty in that. Number two, which is very real, is navigating the benefits. Everybody hears that when we separate the military, we have military benefits. Sometimes those are evident and easy to attain, and other times they're things that we don't think about. A lot of people who serve get out when they're 22, 24 years old. They don't think about, I need to go to the VA and register for my health care because I'm 22 years old, I'm invincible. But later in life, you get to my age, you start feeling it, you start, suffering from some of the ailments of being in the military, but you don't know that you're entitled to those benefits anymore. And you could suffer without having those benefits unnecessary. And I actually want to share a story right now that's very important to me. And Jackie, if you could pull up that picture real quick. I'm going to tell you a story about a Vietnam vet and his wife that we helped. So the vet, his name is John Rhodes. He served in the United States Air Force as a military policeman. And in the Air Force, they were called Air Police at the time. He provided security for the aircraft that delivered Agent Orange. So for the entire time he was at Vietnam, he was exposed to Agent Orange. In 2016, he and his wife happened to get in connection with Easterseals and started talking about the benefits because Mr. Rhodes' health was starting to suffer. He actually was diagnosed with ALS and subsequently cancer. All of these were connected to his exposure to Agent Orange while he was in the military. Easterseals was able to connect him to the VA, and through that, he was able to be designated as 100% disabled, rated as 100% disabled because of this. He also qualified for an attendant to assist his wife in caring for him in the last years of his life as he entered into hospice. And think about that. Without these benefits, the costs that family would have incurred and the quality of life that they would not have been able to provide him in his last years as he succumbed to these issues would have been tragic. So benefits are huge. And the last piece, mental health. Mental health is a hidden demon. A lot of people suffer from it, minorly, in the microcosm, or it can own their day. And it's not something people want to talk about. It's unseen consequence to serving, whether you serve stateside, overseas, in a combat tour, it doesn't matter. It can affect you as anything can. We see a greater need among veterans today when it comes to mental health care, post-traumatic stress, and addiction recovery. And we know without the right supports, it can cascade into unemployment, cascades into homelessness, cascades into feeling isolated, and then possibly even, again, suicide. So mental health is a huge issue that people have to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. Mental health, there's such a stigma tied to it. And I know any veteran I ever meet and talk to, it's like, hey, everything cool? Don't be afraid to reach out. It's just something you have to keep kind of sharing. You have to change the stigma, over time, obviously. Let's talk about discharge, though, because, you mentioned the veteran benefits there, but just because you serve doesn't necessarily tie you to benefits, because ultimately your discharge can really impact that. And your team is really set up to be able to navigate those waters, not only for those who do qualify, but for those who are dishonorably discharged and don't qualify for the standard benefits. You guys can help navigate those waters.
Absolutely, Craig. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. After we serve, when we separate the military, we are given a category of a discharge. Anything from honorable to dishonorable, there are 5 categories. And I won't go to it right now, but when you get less than an honorable discharge, it impacts your benefits. Some benefits are reduced and some cease to exist at that point. To give you an example, if you have a less than honorable discharge and you are limited to mental health services only if you check in or go into an emergency room at a VA. So if you're having crisis, you cannot be seen or treated unless you actually walk into the emergency room at that time. And that may not be the time that you want to walk into the emergency room. So the discharge status can affect people significantly. Also, unfortunately, for some of these veterans that get a less than honorable discharge, they feel that it defines them. And that is something that we drive home hard and fast as peer supporters, is that is not who you are. It is a circumstance. And the beauty of Easterseals and Military Veteran Services is we stay up to date on the rules of benefits and categories of benefits and how benefits change, because you, like, if you got out in 2000 and then applied for benefits and were denied, over these last 20 years, the rules may have changed and now you may be entitled to benefits. So we ask, if you have any questions, reach out to us at Easterseals Military and Veteran Services. We will investigate what benefits you may be entitled to and help you apply for those. And then the last piece is, just because you receive that discharge does not mean that discharge needs to stand. There is a way through the VA to appeal your discharge. It doesn't mean it will be overturned or upgraded, but sometimes it's worth trying. We've had a couple veterans that have come out to us and we've helped fill out the paperwork to appeal for their benefit or their discharge, and it's been upgraded to a general or an honorable discharge, and then all of a sudden they are eligible for benefits.
And you mentioned law changes there just recently, just about a year ago. Well, in January is when it went into effect. It was signed previously. The Blue Water Navy Veterans Act that went into, that impacts hundreds of thousands of Vietnam era U.S. Navy, Coast Guard members. I mean, those folks who were out on ships who were impacted by Agent Orange and other defoliants are finally getting benefits, finally getting their cases looked at and approved. And, they're approving them as fast as they can. But one thing to point out there too is family members, even if the veteran has passed, those benefits can go on to family members as well. So, it's an ever-changing world, with new laws and everything. So I'm glad your team is on top of that. When it comes to emergency help, I know that Chris Macklin will grab his truck or car, whatever he has, and will drive out in a heartbeat to go help a veteran. I know he's done it. I think even strap a couch to the top of the car if needed. I mean, Chris is the man when it comes to helping our veterans, in those emergency situations. How are you set up for that? Why does it work so well for your office?
We're very proud of the way we've set up our business operations here for Veteran Services. We actually have a community one source hotline that, a cell phone that we pass amongst ourselves that we carry with us 24/7. But I want to start out with, we help veterans in all sorts of situations, but if a vet is in crisis or there is an emergency situation, please, they dial 911. If it's medical, if they are in crisis 24 hours a day, they can dial the United Way 211 hotline, because our phone, we staff it every day, but if I'm asleep and it rings, I may not be able to answer it immediately, but I will get to it at the first opportunity. And then at that point, we connect the veterans to community resources for anything and everything. We want to make sure we're there. And Chris is the champion of this, the peer support, being able to be a veteran that someone can talk to when they're in crisis. And we go back to that feeling of isolation, abandonment, things of that nature. We are not professionals for suicide hotlines. We don't do that. Again, we refer that to the professionals. But if someone is facing homelessness or eviction or food urgency, those kind of crises, that's what we're here for. And we can connect them to those community resources, anything from housing, transportation, legal issues, as we talked about the VA healthcare. Most importantly, always our focus, and Pam will love this, our focus is on employment, because it is at the heart of everything we do. When people contact us, when veterans contact us in need, through our interviewing processes, we look at more than what they're presenting us. What is the backstory? What are the barriers, the difficulties, the hurdles that are causing this? Because if someone says, I'm facing eviction because I can't afford these bills, we understand that's a real circumstance on your radar right now, but what caused that circumstance? What got you to that point? And now here comes in, we find out that a lot of these people have employment that may not be able to meet their economic needs. So with Rusty, with Chris, our job developers, we have from entry level part-time jobs all the way up to full-time salaried high-paying positions. We strive to match the right veteran to the right job. Here's another example real quick I want to give of how we work this thing. We had a an individual contacted us. He had a veteran that was couch serving as his house. So pretty much the veteran was living in the basement on the couch. The veteran was homeless. He was also unfortunately struggling with an addiction. So the friend reached out to us and said, I've got this vet, he's suffering, I don't know what to do with him. We contacted the veteran, actually got him into a addiction recovery program, got him into an inpatient recovery program. And once he was healthy, he reached back out to us to say, I'm ready for employment. We connected with him, redid his resume, helped him find some jobs, apply for some jobs. He applied for a job at Castellini, where he was hired as a quality assurance supervisor at $65,000 a year. So 8 months ago, he was homeless, suffering from addiction. 8 months later, he has meaningful employment. He's on the road to recovery. He has changed his life. Those are the things we do. And that's how we, like I said, going back to our community one source, they did a cry for help. We helped them. And then we kept with them along that journey.
But it's kind of like an onion, the layers of an onion sometimes when you talk about the complex issues that some veterans have. So it's nice to have a job and have that paycheck coming in, let's say $65,000 a year, and he's got that nice job. But some of those layers are something that your team has to be able to work through to keep that veteran on track.
Absolutely. You got it. And the saying we have is, what is the biggest single challenge? There is no single challenge. It is, 5 things, 6 things, 8 things that lead to this. And each one has its own priority, and each one has to be addressed in such a way that the veteran can succeed. Because, when someone cuts to us and they're homeless and they're looking for employment, it's the chicken or the egg. Do I get them employment so they can afford a good home, or to get them a home where they feel safe, but they can't afford it because they don't have employment? So we have to fight with these barriers. The beauty is, Chris, Rusty, and myself, we meet the veteran where they are at that point in time, and we work with them through this journey. It is no rush. It is not a one-stop shop. We stay with them for years if need be. We have veterans who have come back through our doors many times seeking our services because they get so far, they feel like they're succeeding, but then they stumble. And they know they can turn back to us without judgment, without criticism, because we will support them no matter, because we've all walked that walk some way, shape, or form. So we are here for them, and we help each veteran overcome those barriers and turn their lives around. And with that, I like to actually go to a video we have of one of our Marine veterans we served, and his name is Mickey Harlow. So if we could cue that video.
The men and women of the U.S. Armed Services defend our country with pride and honor. But service can come with a price, leaving our nation's veterans with injuries both seen and unseen. Marine veteran Mickey Harlow never thought he would be someone needing help from Easterseals. But a devastating tractor-trailer crash left him addicted to painkillers, leading to a night that cost him his job, his home, and his family in the blink of an eye.
I was out for about 26 minutes. They had Narcan me 11 times. They were about to call time of death on me. I knew after that this was it. This was the last chance. It was either get clean or die. Got in the military, got hurt in a training accident. I ended up getting a medical discharge. I went through a divorce and decided, get my CDLs and go on the road, be a truck driver. I got hit by a rock slide. It rolled onto my driver's side, and the driver's side window broke, and I just remember my hand scraping the concrete as I was sliding down the road. So they estimated me over 30 breaks. That's what got me addicted to opiates. I got to the point where I was relying on them, and then it just got to the point where I couldn't live without them. It was about day 2 or 3, and I woke up in horrible pain. I mean, you could feel like every hair on your body hurt. I called my doctor that morning. I was like, I feel like I'm dying. I said, what's going on? And he pretty much laughed at me, and he said, you're going to withdraw a little bit. And he said, it'll go away eventually. And that wasn't the case. You don't feel like you can function. I mean, the littlest tasks feel impossible to do. And you get to a point to where, you don't even take them to get high or to get a buzz. You take them just to feel normal. It's an indescribable pain unless you've been through it. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. When it snowballed out of control, I lost everything in a day. I lost my semi, I lost my license, lost my job. It got worse and worse. And then in 2019, I overdosed bad, and I should have died. My kids were pretty mad at me. I'd done a lot of damage.
You want to hope, but at the same time, you don't want to hope because you've been disappointed before.
My kids have been my biggest motivation. It was rough being away from them. I wanted it back, so I was willing to do anything it took to get it.
I remember meeting Mickey the week before Brighter Futures last year, trying to restore hope and talking to him about all the changes he could make and how he could be successful in spite of his past circumstances. Everything else was doom and gloom until it came to his kids. The main motivating factor and the thing I used against him the whole journey is, you remember your kids, Mickey. We got to do this for the kids, Mickey. He's tickled to death that he's 2 miles from work, 2 blocks from his kids. Next step is get a house so everybody can be up under the same roof.
I don't think I'd have made it through this process without Chris or Easterseals. I'm back with my kids, hanging out with them every day now. The name of the game is sticking to it and, being in their lives and moving forward.
We had a vision. We had a plan. He worked the plan. So I'm not surprised that he's here. I think Mickey's more surprised that he's here with all the obstacles he had to overcome in the barrier. For most veterans, all we need is a second chance and for people to listen.
You make your own support system. Get in these programs, you'll find people in the same boat that you are, and you lean on each other and you'll get through it. You got to want it. You got to stay committed. Just whatever you do, don't give up hope.
Easterseals.
So Craig, Mickey's story is one of hundreds of veterans we serve every day and reminds us that our work is critically important now more than ever. Over the last 2 years, the number of local veteran serving organizations has diminished. Others have been increasingly selective about which veterans they serve. And as a result, Easterseals has seen a 500% growth in demand for our service, which will only increase exponentially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. In response, Easterseals has adopted our services so we continue critical resources, education, employment support for veterans throughout the pandemic, and have even managed to place 52 veterans into employment during COVID. And my last story real quick is we actually had a friend of ours of Easterseals Military and Veteran Services, an Army friend. He had his own business. COVID came in, took out his business. So one minute he's a successful business owner, the next he's out of work. It was very hard for him to reach out to us because of pride, because what he was doing, he was successful in the military and he was successful in the community, but fate happened. When he came to us, our employment specialist had several job listings ready for him to apply for, and he was employed within a week, avoiding any kind of financial crisis. So, like I said, we're here for anyone. We take each person individually and we serve them to best our ability.
Well, I applaud you. 52 veterans, during this time period. It's such a challenging time for so many organizations. And I know some people on this call right now are tied to other organizations trying to help our veterans as well, PWC and others. And, it is a challenging time, but it's possible because of the supporters of Easterseals, obviously, those who write those checks. To be quite honest, it's the $5 checks, it's the $200 checks. It's the $10,000 checks if we happen to get them. Remember, it's all tax deductible, folks. So, this environment, obviously with COVID, you can end up with a higher homeless rate for our veterans, which is unfortunate. And again, so many amazing organizations along with Easterseals out there trying to stop that from happening. But a major show of support for Easterseals from the U.S. Department of Labor, though, under its Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, which is often referred to as HVRP. This summer, Easterseals was awarded $500,000 grant specific to the service of homeless veterans in our community so they can get that job training, the counseling that's so important, and placement services as well. I want to bring in Rusty Mardis right now. Rusty, Easterseals already, has a great reputation. We've been talking about this on addressing the complex needs of homeless veterans as well. So getting that additional federal backing has got to be kind of a major shot in the arm to help with this mission.
Absolutely. And thank you, Craig, for that. And I love your home front, by the way. It always is a pleasure to watch. It's a game changer. HVRP is definitely a game changer for sure. But before we get into the program, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say just how excited I am to be with you today as part of the Easterseals team. It's been a goal and dream of mine since working side by side with them during my time at TVCA. I know firsthand how passionate and committed they are to making a real difference in the lives of veterans. Now, when it comes to the homeless veterans, employment can be the silver bullet that helps them turn their circumstances around and build that better life. That's why the HVRP program is going to be a real difference maker for veterans in our community. Just to give you a quick snapshot of the program, it's a 3-year program exclusively for homeless veterans. There are 240 homeless veterans already served. Over 200 veterans already been placed into employment at a minimum starting wage of $15.45. But it also is a comprehensive case management system where it's built for that individual to develop their plan specific for them, and we help walk them through that. And even though once they're placed, it's not over at that point either. It's a 12-month minimum follow-up after that service. So it's truly an amazing program that makes a big difference in the local community. Back to you, Craig.
All right. Thank you, Rusty. And, it's a process, isn't it? All of these programs, it's a process. It's not just hey, I just make this one phone call and life is better. You may have those rare occasions. You guys have told me some of those stories, but really it's a process for both the team of Easterseals and the veteran themselves. They have to put in the grunt work, so to speak, to be able to have that success as well. We wanted to go back to, Mickey's story a little bit ago, talking about drugs and alcohol and addiction overall can be such a major hurdle and an impact on that success and that transition. And Chris Macklin was featured in that video. Chris, you really helped give him a hand up. You really did. And you helped him on his journey. Obviously, Mickey and any veteran you're helping has to have that goal in their mind and that focus to be able to help themselves. But you were really there, and the team with the Easterseals was there, for that peer support in the employment. The peer recovery employment program is just so key to what you're doing. Can you explain a little bit more?
Yes, thank you. Having peer support is having somebody by your side that's actually been through what you're going through. Somebody that can keep you on the right path and point you in the right direction. Every day with the veterans that we deal with at Easterseals, we can relate to them because we've either done it, we've seen it happen, or we are experiencing it currently, to be totally honest. I've had my own issues with depression and self-medication. For me, it was really having a job and having somebody that I can talk to that truly understood what I was trying to say. Easterseals Peer Recovery Program is first of a kind between Easterseals and Hamilton County Public Health, local healthcare providers, recovery centers, and employers. Keyword being employers. We need jobs after we finish the program. Just to give you a snapshot of the program, it's a 2-year program. First year consists of training, 40 hours in-person training, 6 months internship paid by Easterseals, and then a year follow-along services after that. We will serve 100 individuals through this program. Everyone will get education, paid hands-on training, comprehensive peer support, comprehensive support services, employment, and 12 months follow-along services again. This program will give you industry-recognized certifications for employment and 3 career pathways, first being peer support, second being construction, and then fulfillment and logistics. And that means a lot for long-term success and us accomplishing the goals that we do with the veteran for their employment plan. It helps them turn their life around, ensure it'll help them turn their life around. We're putting more peer supporters in the community, so this work can be further with other veterans and civilians that enter this program. Thank you.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. And a reminder, if you have any questions at all, just use that chat feature down there. I can see a couple comments down there, so we'll get to those here in just a minute. You want to send those, by the way, to Fergal Reed. He'll be more than happy to take care of those and get those to me. All right. A lot of great companies are embracing, obviously, veteran employment as part of the commitment just to, create a more diverse and inclusive workplace as well. One of them is AT&T. I mentioned this gentleman a little bit earlier, which keeps raising the bar on veteran employment. In fact, several years ago, AT&T committed to hiring 10,000 veterans by 2015. Now, they hit that goal and set out then, hey, you know what? If we can hire 10,000, maybe we can hire 20,000 by the year 2020. And it's a goal that they're ahead of schedule on. So it's an amazing process here. AT&T's a founding member of the Veteran Jobs Mission nationally. Also a proud supporter of all the work that Easterseals is doing each and every day right here in the Greater Cincinnati area to open career pathways for veterans and others who really need a hand up on a journey to employment. Joining us now to share more about what this is and this work that they are doing, Mark Romito, the Director of External Affairs for AT&T. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning, Craig, and thank you for highlighting some of AT&T's work that we're doing with veterans. And good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be with you today and to be a part of today's program. The AT&T Foundation's main focus is on supporting effective education and workforce development programs. So I'm very happy to announce and present that Easterseals, with this check for $11,000 for its military and veteran career pathways. And unfortunately, we're not together in person, but I can give it to you. But these checks are a lot of fun, but they won't do you much good at the bank. Thankfully, you already have the money, so that's good news. But a lot of times, folks will want to know why AT&T is involved in something, something like this. And we do this because having meaningful employment, as we've heard from Pam and Scott earlier, having meaningful employment is just so good for the person. It's good for our community and it's good for our economy. But frankly, I'll let you know a little secret. It is very good for companies like mine, AT&T as well, because we're always in need of two things, and that's customers and employees. And these kind of workforce development programs enable people to be good customers and get them on their feet and allow them to also be good employees as well. So, I mean, that's our big motivation. In closing, I just want to say thank you to all the veterans for their service and sacrifice. I personally did not serve in the military, but my dad was a World War II DAV. And so I have an appreciation for, some appreciation for the sacrifice, and do have a soft spot for veterans. I also want to congratulate those vets who took the step to contact Easterseals. It's not very easy asking for help and going to some place to seek guidance and to say, hey, I just need a helping hand here. I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong, or I need to figure out how to get things back on track. And as we all know, in our work with Easterseals, taking that first step can lead to some pretty awesome breakthroughs. Finally, just thank you to Easterseals, not only for the opportunity to speak today, but also for all the great work that you do in our community, for our vets, for our community, for our economy. You're doing great work. Thank you, and keep it up.
Mark, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that $11,000 donation. Easterseals, because of all the networking that they're able to do, they're able to really stretch those dollars. So thank you so much for that. Our next guest is a true friend of Easterseals Military and Veterans Services. Of course, Lou Terhar is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, retired Navy commander as well. He made his mark as a civilian in the business world, the president and CEO of 3 different companies, in fact, and in public service, having served in both the Ohio House of Representatives and the Ohio Senate. Today, Lou is a partner with Ingenium Plus, a partnership providing strategic guidance to organizations really looking to improve their performance and operational efficiency. Now, he also instructs future business leaders in the executive MBA program at Xavier University, serves as a board member of the USO, that's awesome, the Navy League, the Central Region of the Boy Scouts of America, and is a trustee of the Altiora Fund at Elder High School. I probably just totally botched that name. Lou still lives by the precepts that he learned in the Naval Academy, of course: duty, honor, and country. And Lou, you're actually a legend at Easterseals because you just referred veterans to Easterseals. You've literally put them in your car and driven them to Easterseals just to get them enrolled in services.
Yeah, I have, only because I believe Easterseals is one of those places that, does a great job with vets. It is difficult, and one of the things discussed earlier, first, Chris, Scott, and Rusty need to all have medals for what they do, because it is so difficult. And I don't think that people, especially combat vets, people who've never been in that situation, don't understand that many of these guys never again feel safe because you're always on your guard, you're always looking, which makes it very difficult for many of them to reintegrate into civilian life. And more importantly, once you're out, when you're in a team concept and everybody has each other's back, and now suddenly you're on your own, those two things of the fear of not having somebody there to cover you and the fact that you feel uncertain in a situation because it's now different are critical things that the folks at Easterseals understand and they know how to deal with. Most importantly, Easterseals, which I think has to be emphasized even more all the time, Easterseals helps vets no matter what their discharge status. And those people who think that, well, if you didn't have an honorable discharge, you must have done something wrong. In many cases, I'm a Vietnam vet, so I have a group of friends, not all of whom can do lots of things like I get. They can't join the VFW because they're not honorable discharges. And many of them got discharges, generals, or discharges for the convenience of the government because the government should have never put them in the service to start with. They either were not really qualified or were not mentally stable enough to go into that environment. And then when they got someplace that was a little less than normal, the government wanted to get rid of them. Well, those folks have been through some of the same things all the rest of us have been through, but their ability to get services is very, very limited, particularly from the VA and other agencies. Easterseals, that's not a problem. If you're a vet, you're a vet. Nobody asks you what your discharge papers say. They just want to know what it is, how they can help you. And so that experience for people who have had the most difficult part of their service not end well for them and not have a place to go and still feel the same sense of a bit of fear and loneliness when you're no longer part of a team, it's critically important that a place like Easterseals exists and helps these folks. And yes, I did take people to Easterseals because I know there's some folks that won't go unless you just get them and take them. And so to anybody out there, if you know a veteran who's in trouble and you keep saying, well, I've told them 10 times to go get help, that doesn't help. What does help is you give them help and get them somewhere where they can have the help they need, or at least have the opportunity to address some of the fears and concerns that they have. Many vets, I come from a military tradition of family. My grandfather fought in the World War I in the Rainbow Division in the trenches and in the battles of Tato Terry and Musargan. My dad was on a PT boat in the Pacific in the Marshalls and the Gilberts and the Solomons for almost 2 years, and then ended up in a naval hospital for the last year of the war. So I was kind of expected, and I expected myself to go serve. Many folks got drafted. And so this was not something they'd been prepared for, ever thought about, and bang, here you are. And you now get people who say, well, it's an all volunteer force. They signed themselves up for this. Well, folks, they signed themselves up for you, not for them. And those folks all deserve some help. So my appeal to everyone on this call is that no matter how much or how little you can help monetarily, Easterseals needs the money. I'm on enough not-for-profits that I understand that all of the types of events that we use in most not-for-profits to generate money to support them because of COVID have not been able to be held. And we have not-for-profits who have some severe budget constraints and actually so far below budget, they have to cut services. We cannot let that happen at Easterseals. So I ask all of you to think about the folks that Easterseals serves, how they provide services that people literally can't get anywhere else, and people who deserve to have those services, and give them a bit of your time and a bit of your treasure so that the Easterseals and the three guys on the front lines there can continue to do what they need to do to support veterans in need in Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely, Lou. Thank you so much for your service and welcome home, sir.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of great information is being shared this morning. We're going to get to the Q&A in just a minute. We have a handful of questions to answer. Before we get to that, though, So the question is, what can I do to support this overall mission? Lou touched on it there briefly. And really the ultimate amazing work that the Easterseals folks are doing. Few ways to do that. First is probably the easiest, and it doesn't cost you a penny. It's absolutely free. And that's simply just share the message out there with your friends and neighbors. If you know veterans as well, make them aware of the services, because, you know, a veteran may not realize that they could use these services, or they may be in a moment in their life where they need it, and this is an opportunity for them. So just sharing the word of what Easterseals really is all about here in the military and veteran services programs. Because Scott and his team, obviously, you stand at the ready 24 hours to get that phone call if it's necessary. The second, and we've spoken about this as well, hire veterans. You may have, like Scott, you know, you may have a 15-page resume, but we, you know, Easterseals and other folks can help narrow that down and translate a tank commander or infantry troop into, you know, what qualifies on the civilian side of things. Yeah, you're not going to be driving tanks through Cincinnati, but this team can really help take those skills and translate them into the civilian market and get proper employment. The COVID-19 situation, we know companies and industries, they can't fill all of their jobs, but talk to Easterseals to see if the veterans are, you know, can fit those jobs that are available out there. They've been stepping up to fill these essential roles already, as Scott had mentioned earlier. Also, if you have the means, consider making a gift to Easterseals so they can answer those calls for veterans who have an emergency need, and also make sure that they're getting the benefits they're entitled to here. Easterseals can help with that, as we've mentioned, once those emergencies are stabilized, of course, provide any additional hand up to find sustainable employment. And you can make that donation. You can see the website right there, givevets22.org. Take a picture of the screen, share it on your social media, tell your friends about it, your neighbors, scream it out in the middle of the neighborhood, let everyone know this is how they can help with the Easterseals organization here and help veterans in our community. Let's get to some of the questions right now. We're going to be running out of time here, trying to condense a couple things. But first off, Scott, if I can bring you in, we're talking about COVID-19. How has that really impacted? And also, how has the military and veteran services team adapted under these current conditions?
Craig, like everyone in the world, everybody was impacted. And when it first hit us, we had to shift real quick because our services are provided face-to-face for the most part. And again, when you're dealing with veterans in crisis, a veteran in a shelter, we're talking people on the street corners under a bridge. You know, when we could no longer see them in our offices, we went out to where they were. I remember pulling up one time to the parking lot to our office, and Chris is outside at the picnic table with another veteran at another picnic table doing an intake right there on the spot. We've gone to shelters where Chris was telling a story where he wrote the note on a 3x5 card and put it up against the glass where the person could read it on the other side so they could get communication. One of the challenges people don't understand is technology challenges. A lot of the veterans we serve may not have access to a laptop, may not have a smartphone or something of that nature. So it became imperative that we stay in touch with them because, as I talked about at the beginning, isolationism, abandonment. When the world said we can no longer socially contact you, if you felt isolated and abandoned before, boy, did that just go exponentially through the roof. So it was extremely important that we stay in touch with the people that we needed to stay in touch with. Chris was boots on the ground, Rusty is boots on the ground, getting out there to make sure we stayed in touch with them. And as I shared how many people got into employment, we were able to do that because we never had a hitch in our step. We kept going and adapted, overcome, adapt, and improvise, as they always say. We did it, and that's how we're successful.
And this could go to you or the entire team. Female veterans, women veterans, they don't identify the same as male veterans. It's an issue within the veteran community itself, and it's for a variety of reasons. DAV did a really great report on this and study. But the question really is, how many veterans, female veterans, do you see coming through the door, and how does that, landscape look a little different?
Absolutely, Craig. So about 30% of the people who contact us are female veterans, which is a significant amount. When I first took this job 3 years ago, it was 3 to 5% were female. And through getting our word out, getting our reputation of we'll serve all veterans, all walks of life. And we really focus on the challenges that the veteran has. And we understand that if it is a female veteran and she's a single mom or something like that, there are unique challenges that they face themselves. So 30% of the people walk through our doors or contact us are females.
All right. And this question to Chris. Chris, on the peer recovery employment program, do you have to be a veteran to be able to, be part of that?
No, sir. Anybody that's have 1 year of sobriety can apply, do the intake, and see if they're a good fit for the program. So we invite all to come, and those that do not fit the program, we will still help them find employment through the other two areas.
Okay. And another question popped up here. What about employers? Can you help employers better understand veterans themselves who are making that transition? Pam says they just hired a career Air Force member who just retired. Do you have resources for employers?
Absolutely. So Pam is the newest member of my advisory committee, and thank you, Pam, very much for stepping up and doing what you do. But we do. Rusty brings a wealth of knowledge from the TVCA, and we and Easterseals, TVCA, all of us veteran serving organizations will go out to HRs and talk to them and tell them about the uniqueness of hiring veterans, the strengths, the challenges, and how we can support them. So please, if you are interested in hiring vets, reach out to us and we'll be glad to connect.
Awesome. Another message here says, what types of employment opportunities and positions are veterans looking for? Skilled trades, positions, hourly jobs, technical jobs, positions requiring a degree, etc.
You just touched on all of them and more. The veterans that walk through our door, some haven't been, some of the more economically challenged are the ones who've been in shelter or are recovering from addiction, maybe not have been in the workforce for a long period of time. We have entry-level employment for them. We have part-time employment for them to get back on their feet. And then once they're stable and they feel good, we work to improve that employment. And we always use the word meaningful employment. I can start somebody at $8.70 an hour at this job, but is that going to make a change to their lives? No, it's going to get them started. And then we guide for the $15 an hour, $20 an hour if they're qualified for it. We have office jobs, we have construction jobs, we have construction pathways, we have logistics jobs. Chris talking about that peer program, peer supervisors becoming licensed and certified. All the jobs are out there. You contact us, we'll find the job for you.
Awesome. And we do want to point out here, every branch, every era of veteran, from at this point, World War II, to modern day vets who are coming back home from Afghanistan and Iraq, Easterseals is here for all of them. And I just want to thank everyone, also their families. Don't forget the families out there who really hold down the fort also a lot of times while their service members are deployed. I appreciate everyone jumping on here this morning, and we've kind of hit our hour mark here, so we don't want to hold people up any longer, but we just want to remind you that you can continue to support Easterseals. If you own a business, look for ways, again, to add veterans to your workforce. If you know a veteran who is struggling, reach out directly to Easterseals. You can use the United Way 211 helpline as well, and the Easterseals Military and Veteran Services. If you're able to, consider a financial gift, of course, to keep these vital support groups and these programs going. Watch your email for more information this week on how you can support the Easterseals Give Vets 22 campaign. Every gift, again, no matter the size, $10, $20, $11,000 from the great folks at AT&T. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Mark. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. To the veterans on here, thank you so much for your service. Happy Veterans Day. Get out there and enjoy it. There's a huge list of free food to get from restaurants and discounts at stores and everything. Not to push my stuff, but on Facebook, McKee WCPO, or the Homefront Facebook group, I put a link on there. It's actually a link from Stars and Stripes. They put a really comprehensive list together. Go get your discounts and enjoy it. You've earned it. For sure. Thank you so much for inviting me again this year, guys, and we'll see you next year. Keep up the great work.